once again, and welcome to Leaders in Coffee, this virtual edition getting ready for Election Day. Today, we're joined by State Representative Nicholas Duran, who's running for re-election in District 112. Representative, welcome to Leaders in Coffee.
Thank you. It's great to be with you this afternoon.
Representative, what was your motivation to run for office?
So back in 2016, I'll be finishing my second term this go around. But back then, a couple of things. I think oftentimes people wonder what they can do to be helpful to their community. And a lot of my work had been in working to implement the Affordable Care Act over the state of Florida. And prior to that, I was working with a gentleman by the name of Dave Lawrence, former publisher of the Miami Herald, on issues related to early childhood education and healthcare for children when we launched an organization called the Children's Movement of Florida. It had taken me up to Tallahassee quite a bit, and I had engaged with legislators. And it's if you're familiar with going up there and how you engage with them as an advocate, it's usually like a 5-minute meeting. So you go up there, you sit down. Exactly. And you run through the important talking points that you have that you want to instill on them. And, as a legislator, I tell you that I probably sit down with maybe 30 people like that a day while you're in session. So there's a lot of that going on. But oftentimes on issues related to children's health care and investment in early childhood education, sometimes you would have somebody like, yeah, I get it. Democrat, Republican, like really enthusiastic, really going through it. Often other times you would see someone who would just have like sort of a glaze on their eyes and just didn't matter to them. And in my book, I thought about those people oftentimes and said, you know what, it may be more effective where I can be in that person's seat and I sit down there and I can engage with my colleagues on a more meaningful level than a 5-minute conversation on issues like these. So the opportunity to do that, I think the stars aligned, and that's some folks had reached out and recruited. We're recruiting for somebody to reach to this district. My family came here 56 years ago from Colombia, and my mom and my father's family bought their first house in Silver Bluff. My mom's in Shenandoah. So the opportunity to represent a district where my family's roots, where our American story began, an opportunity on issues that I think are so important to the future of our state. They all kind of aligned within my office. My work allowed me to take the opportunity to do this as well.
What do you believe is the largest issue affecting South Florida and our state?
So obviously, I think COVID's on everyone's minds. It's the 800-pound gorilla, and I say that only because it's a two-front fold here. The first front is on the health side. I think everyone is concerned about their health. There's a lot of concerns on maintaining their safety and their family safety, and creating a level of confidence in people that we're going to be there, we're getting there, we're on our way there. So on the healthcare side, it is creating confidence and ensuring that we have the infrastructure in place to adequate testing, tracing, and working with our private and for-profit and nonprofits to really kind of work on that end. So I think there's going to be a major work on that side. The second is the economy, because it impacts our economy. And I think a lot of us know it, and we've seen it down here in Miami-Dade. It has certainly there's a lot of small businesses that are struggling. There are a lot of restaurants that are struggling. There are a lot of individuals who are tied to the social service sector that have really been impacted by COVID. And so when you think about folks who are trying to get unemployment, when you think about small businesses that are just trying to survive, what are we going to do? How can we do it? Is going to be a part of that. And then I think the second, which is an existential issue for us down here in Miami-Dade and for Florida, is climate change and sea level rise. My district includes Brickell. My district includes portions of Coral Gables and the coast, Village of Key Biscayne. The issue of sea level rise is one that is, in my eyes, is one that is about infrastructure. It is about resiliency building, and it's about us focusing and working towards those goals. And I think that they kind of interconnect in that what we can do is we can rebuild our economy at the same time using resiliency and infrastructure building on sea level rise to help us prepare for the future while at the same time impacting businesses. So healthcare, economy, and sea level rise, I think, are things that just pop up in my mind all the time, and what I hear quite a bit from constituents.
And sticking to the issue of the environment, Biscayne Bay has had many issues over the last few years. One of the issues that we have seen, and Coral Gables in particular has tried addressing, is the septic tank issue. What
Yeah.
can we do from a state level to address that issue?
So a couple of things related to this, and look, these are not issues that are new, right? We've sort of seen that this is something that there's reports that have been going on for a couple of years now, that at a county level we've been kind of kicking the can down the road, but we can no longer afford to do so. And with respect to septic tank, it's no small affair, and it's not a cheap solution or fix. So I think at a state level, going back to what I was saying to you about resiliency and infrastructure, I think it's an opportunity for us at the state level to really look at that, group it with other resiliency and infrastructure building, and create what I think could be a recurring fund source or funding place that we can create an opportunity for the state to invest, to be a part of the picture of helping move things along. So one is investment and creating the kind of funding mechanism that can be there. It can be funded through private, it can be funded through new revenue sources or uncaptured revenue sources that the state is doing. But the other is working with our counties. And I think one of the issues that I've noticed over the last 4 years is that our counties, our municipalities will go up to Tallahassee and they'll ask for X amount of different water integrity projects or different projects like that. And what it's difficult for us to do as legislators, as a delegation, is to go, what is the top priority projects within these? Like, how can we figure that out? It's difficult to do so. I think it's almost like crabs in a bucket. Everyone's competing for the funding. So how can we do that is something that I want to work closely on with others when I get reelected, is how do we create that sort of prioritization sort of program, but also at a state level, can we create what is a recurring funding source on these kinds of projects that I think will be helpful to the environment, also helping us rebuild ourselves and get us out of this economic situation that we're in.
Coral Gables is a cut-through city, and the traffic is a large issue, which is really an underlying issue for our transportation needs in South Florida. What can we do from a state perspective to address the transportation issue?
Sure. So, one of the first bills that I had filed, and I had filed it with Senator Anita de Flores, was for the state to recognize our SMART plan, to take it in and recognize it for its the 25% match contribution. And we pushed this and filed it. We filed it and we worked with Mayor Suarez and some of the other municipal organizations, South and North, that helped us kind of push FDOT to recognize it without us having to actually pass the bill. They sort of just sent the letter in and said, we're going to take this in. So one, I think we've made a good move there in terms of having the state recognize if we're going to move forward with our SMART plan, there is going to be a state match that's going to be involved there as well. Some of the other stuff that we have done that I think is helpful, because I think people need to feel more confident and safe, is the underline. We have worked to support the underline, which is alternative transportation, which is people riding their bikes, but riding their bikes and feeling safe. I think we've really helped commit $2 million towards the underline, which is an important part of my district. Cuts through Coral Gables, and I think that's going to be also part of where we're going. Look, I think if we can be assistive in I think infrastructure resiliency building is also about this issue, transportation. I think it's all kind of interconnected. So if we are creating those kinds of modes, if we are prioritizing alternative transportation, if we're working to help ensure that a train system or a bus system or alternative biking and things like that are there, that's how we do it. And I think a lot of the times we do it in member projects or municipal projects, working closely with the organizations on these fronts.
What can we expect from a reelected Nick Duran over the next 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, look, I have 2 children, and my children are young. They're in elementary school. It has been a apprehensive last couple of days because we just restarted school. And so what I really want to ensure is when we go back up, first is that we're ensuring that we have adequate resources to ensure that kids continue to go into school and that school is safe. I think school is the grand unlock for us to rebuild our economy. We need to make sure that kids can go to school and they're not stuck at home, and that parents are having to also be a teacher and trying to figure out how to get to work. I am a major, in the House. I serve on as the Democratic member, the lead Democratic member, and the ranking member for Health and Human Services and Healthcare Appropriations. These are places that I work very, very deeply. It's a lot of my how I've cut my teeth professionally is in the healthcare realm. So on that end, I think that one of the major unlocks as well to helping it build rebuild our economy is having a serious conversation about Medicaid expansion. I think it helps impact our small businesses because those small businesses will have employees who will have healthcare, who are going to be healthy, who are not going to be absent because of a healthcare issue. And they don't also have to worry about how they're going to pay for their small business, for their employees' healthcare. So there's federal dollars that are attached to that will help us shift general revenue dollars towards other projects like transportation, like sea level rise and resiliency projects. So I'm going to be focusing in on how do we do that? What does it look like? How can we work together on a bipartisan solution that can help us kind of move towards that realm? So those are some of the issues I think are priority issues. I think also what you and I just talked about earlier, this funding and finding a way for us to properly fund resiliency and sea level infrastructure projects at a state level and prioritizing them are going to be important as well.
Representative Duran, thank you so very much for taking the time to join us here on Leaders in Coffee.
It is a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
And thank you all for watching. Tune in next time for another virtual edition of Leaders in Coffee here on Gables Insider.